glass teapot. Normally I would use my electric kettle at Morocco. I love this thing. I used it for probably 2, almost 3 years, like every day straight, and it's just not working anymore. I can't find this thing anywhere. Like, I can find the brand and other things they make, but I want this specific one again, or one really close to it. It had all these really cool temperature setting features and keep warm features, and I love the design of it. I like that it's all black and that it's safe to grab. But yeah, this thing is dead and I can't find it anymore. And I've been trying to find a replacement, so if you know of a good one, let me know in the comments. So I'm resorting to my trusty, just regular kettle. Works just fine. So I'm gonna heat up some water and I'm gonna make some tea. But not just any tea, I'm gonna make Numi tea, like you probably saw in the box. Because I love it and I wanted to talk about it. Is it the only brand of tea that I own? No, it's not the only brand that I have, but I do have a lot of Numi tea, and over the years I've tried various different kinds, and I just wanted to talk about some of my favorites that I've tried, why I like it generally compared to other ones. It's like, I'm not necessarily a snob. Like, I'll drink kind of whatever, but if I'm ever in a grocery store and I'm looking for either new flavors or a new brand even, I kind of always hold them against the standard of Numi. So I'll explain. I only have about 4 different kinds of Numi tea right now. Sometimes I'll have like 6 to 8, but these are solid and they've been keeping me going pretty good right now. I'll kind of run through them real quick just to name what they are. I've got matcha toasted rice. I've got Moroccan mint. This is an herbal tisane. So these 2 flavors would be like my top 2 amongst any brand, but especially with Numi. So I've got jasmine green tea, which I'm really low on, and I've got H Earl Grey right here. I think I'm gonna make the green tea. It's hard to pick a favorite, black or green. In terms of tea made from the actual tea leaf, Camellia sinensis, the actual like tea plant. I really probably started getting into tea, not just herbal teas, when I started drinking jasmine green tea. So Numi, there's a ton of good information on their website as to like why they're a good company and why they're good quality tea. So I'll probably hit on those just kind of like as I'm talking about it. I wanted to talk about tea in general and just like kind of more the flavor and my personal palate and preference when it comes to the tea. So it'll be informative in various ways, but obviously check out their website. And by the way, this is not a sponsored video. I have no connection with them personally, although Numi, it would be awesome to talk to you guys because I love your tea. So like this is a plant-based tea wrapper. Like that's pretty cool. It's non-GMO, very cool, fair trade certified, and it's USDA organic. If you're like, are they an ethical company? They kind of like check any box that you could think of, boxes I didn't even know existed. They run their company very well in terms of like quality of ingredients. I'll open the bag real quick. Probably can't see. I'll try to get it close to the camera and maybe you can. It's hard because of the bag itself, but maybe, let's see. I don't know if you can tell through the bag, but the leaves in this bag, what's cool about them is they're called a fuller leaf. So that's like the best you can get like in a tea bag, like from a grocery store or somewhere else. And usually you don't even get fuller leaf. It's usually, I forget what it's called. I think it's cut leaf. There's different tiers. And a lot of like the cheaper bags are like powder almost, like almost the dust. It's usually a little bit better, but there's a lot of dust in them. When you have a bigger leaf, you're gonna just get a better steeping process and a better flavor from the actual plant. And these bags, I don't know all the details on them other than they are like unbleached. Because sometimes you buy a tea in the store, you think it's all good because it says organic or whatever else, but it's actually not that great because the bag is bleached. I don't know all the deals with all the chemicals and whatever else, but you're steeping this and you think because it's hot water that it's getting rid of all the bad stuff. Well, not necessarily. So I'm not trying to frighten anybody. It's like, don't freak out if you've got tea like that. I've got, again, tea bags and other brands that are not as high quality as Numi, and it's fine. It's not like strictly a huge problem, but if you're gonna be drinking tea a lot, you do wanna try and make the majority, I would say, of what you're drinking good. You know, if you care about your health. People who are coffee snobs, there's tea snobs, and people who won't drink, like I don't balance in my life. I can't, for one, even though tea is relatively you know, affordable, I can't afford to just always buy the premium stuff, because tea can also get really expensive depending on if you're into loose leaf tea and pu'er and aged tea and whatever. Like, it can get really expensive. But in general, to get into tea, it doesn't cost that much. But I would say, even so, you want to take care of your health. You want quality tea leaves for one, flavor, and for antioxidants, and then you want, hopefully, the bag itself, or even if it's just like a mesh strainer, you want whatever you're steeping it in to be clean. That being said, don't freak out about it. Okay, I probably way over talked about all of that. Anyway, here we go. I'm gonna put this in the teapot here, and we'll give it a little time to steep. I don't know if the camera's got this, but if not, I'll bring it up close once it's brewed and clean. Cool. There's so many cool resources for learning about tea on the internet. Search different companies, go to their websites. That's kind of what I did to start. So I'm trying to take some of the knowledge I have and bring it to you in a fairly concise way. Now, what's cool about most brands in general, but especially Numi, they make it really clear on their boxes and on their tea bags. If like you don't know how to make tea or properly steep it, they have recommended times. They tell you on this one, it helps you energize and restore. Fragrant smooth for sweet balance, steep 2 to 3 minutes. You can put on a little timer, and it doesn't have to be perfect. Now, it doesn't strictly say on their boxes, I don't think, but you can do a quick Google search or see what the best steeping temperatures are for certain types of tea, because there's black tea, there's green tea, there's white tea, there's pu'er, there's oolong, but then there's also just like herbal tisanes, which people think are tea, but they're not actually tea. And some of those you gotta brew longer, sometimes 8 to 10 minutes to get the full potency of the herbs. Anyway, I would say if you're ever unsure, anywhere from 3 to 5 minutes. That may be long for some people. Usually the green teas and white teas, like lighter teas, they don't take as long, usually 2 to 3 minutes. Black teas usually take about 4 to 5 minutes. Now, I also would say just to be careful, you probably don't want to go longer than 5 minutes, probably on any like actual tea. You don't want it to become over bitter or like too many of the tannins in there. That's all, I mean, it's personal preference, like, but that's my preference for sure. Like, I don't like it when it's overly bitter. Another reason why I like Numi tea is it's very, very smooth tea. As you can see with the teapot, it's got a lid, so that helps it steep. In terms of the science of that, I'm sure there's plenty of other videos that could explain why that's important, but if you're not using a teapot, you know, you can get something like a silicone tea steeper. I'll show you one. Something like this, like I got this from Daiso. You can get them online, but you can like put the tea bag in your mug, put that on top of your mug, and that will steep it. I don't know what it does. Obviously, all the steam goes up there, all that. It's supposed to help with flavor. It's supposed to help properly brew it. One really good resource that would probably be able to explain that to you is a channel called Mayleaf? I think it's pronounced Mayleaf. M-E-I Leaf. And it's a tea shop in London. And the people who run the shop, they also have a YouTube channel, and it's super informative. They're also on Instagram. They're probably other places too, but I pretty much see them on YouTube and Instagram, and so much cool. It's super informative and really entertaining, and they talk about not just the actual brewing process, but they'll talk about their relationships that they have with farmers and what it takes to pick a quality leaf and how the leaves are oxidized, the whole process of like from picking to packaging to brewing. So they cover like all the bases. Super informative channel. That reminds me of another cool point with Numi is they have a long-standing relationship with the farmers that pick the tea for them. That's really cool. They're not just like buying the tea from some other company that had someone else pick it and they don't know how it was picked and from where. They know the people that they're getting their tea from. So that's like really, really cool. So let's check this out. It's been a few minutes. Look at that beautiful color right there. If this was just a mug, I'd probably throw the tea bag away, or I'd set it on a little dish to keep if I wanted to brew more. I don't like to keep the tea bag in my mug generally when I'm drinking it. For one, I just don't like it being in the way, and also some people think that leaving it in there draws more flavor out of it over time. It really doesn't. If anything, it just draws out bitterness. But you can still keep the tea bag and re-brew it. The second brew, depending on the leaves, is not gonna be as strong usually, but with something like Numi, it's gonna be pretty close. Like, you can usually steep tea several times, 2 to 3 times, maybe, just depends on the leaves. I generally max out at like 2. I'm gonna partake in this tea real quick. I'm gonna give it a good smell. Oh, the jasmine fragrance of this is just phenomenal, for one, okay? And then I'm gonna give it a little sip. It's just so is so smooth. And what's cool is they use, obviously, tea leaves, but whatever else they're using to flavor it, they use that actual ingredient. They don't use natural flavors or artificial flavors. They just use the thing. The essence of jasmine flowers is actual jasmine flowers in this. It's not like a chemical that tastes or smells like jasmine. So they're using the tea leaves, they're using jasmine flowers to actually make this tea. Like the matcha toasted rice, they're not using like toasted rice flavoring. They're using actual toasted rice to make that flavor happen. That's another thing I really like. And that being said too, like it's pretty affordable, especially for how many tea bags you get. Generally you get about 18 in a box, depends on if it's a Tisan or if it's one of their higher quality ones or whatever, but it's usually 15 to 18 tea bags per box. And depending on where you are in the country or in the world, price will vary, but they're generally around $6 to $8 per box. Not a bad deal. Sometimes you can catch it on sale. So back to the tea real quick. I've had several different kinds of jasmine tea. Like I said, it's one of my favorites. There's just something about this, because sometimes I'll drink a jasmine tea where the jasmine flavor is more prominent. And generally, you might think, oh, I would like that, right? Because that's kind of the point, is to taste that jasmine flavor versus just the green tea. Sometimes I can take notice of like, that it does taste like jasmine, but it doesn't taste like, it tastes kind of like fake. I don't know how to explain that. I wish I could articulate that better. I don't have another cup to compare it to right now to try and figure out another way to say that without having one to taste. But what I have noticed with Numi is that it doesn't in any way to me taste like a chemical or anything artificial. It tastes like the smell of jasmine flowers. So, and the green tea part itself, right? Trying to kind of differentiate that from the flavor of the jasmine and the green. The green is so good. It's I don't want to say mild because I feel like that's unfair. I feel like it has a full flavor, but it's not overly bitter. So if any bitterness is kind of coming through, it's from the jasmine part of it, but that's sort of to be expected with jasmine. To me, it's not a bitterness that tastes bad because I like the flavor of the jasmine. So the bitterness from the jasmine is not overwhelming to me, and I like that flavor. But then the green tea itself is not very bitter, it's very smooth. So combining those two together, it's just a very flavorful, very comforting, I would almost say light flavor, but it's not like super light. It still has kind of a, I guess, a robustness to it. It's not like a heavy, dark black tea, but it's like a full-bodied, well-rounded flavor. So going back to the tea leaves again, the fuller leaves are nice because since there's not like a bunch of powder in it, there's not a ton of like sediment at the bottom, it's not coarse or grainy, it's just really, really smooth. So you've got full flavor of the tea, you've got the flavor of the jasmine to complement it, and it's just nice and uplifting and just, it warms my soul. It makes me happy. It makes me want to read a book or sit and have a conversation with a good friend and just talk for a long time. I love jasmine tea. I could go on for a long time about it. I'm gonna have some more. I think I mentioned this a second ago, but their tea boxes are like super cool, super informative. This will say what kind of tea it is, green tea, right here on the box. And this, the Moroccan mint, it's an herbal Tisan. It will also say that right there on the box. You've got all the like, does it have caffeine in it? Is it a green tea? Is it a Tisan? How long to steep it? About their company, all that. It's just like a ton of cool information right there in the box. Another cool thing about Numi, they don't do this anymore on these boxes. By the way, I love their packaging and their marketing. I love the lettering, I love the design, I love the way they take the photographs, the colors. I know that may seem simple. It's fun to grab a cool thing off the shelf that's a high quality product. I love it. But what's cool is they used to, when you open up the box, like if you were to open this up, there's more info inside here, but they would have recipes on the inside of the box of like using the tea itself in food. Like cool dishes where you could brew it and like use it in, you know, like a salmon dish or, you know, some kind of confectionery like a cake or something like that. It's really neat. So I don't think they do that on the inside anymore, but I noticed, because I took a quick look at their website before I started this video, they actually have recipes on their website, which is so cool. Because I think some people are like, oh, tea, it's like all you do is drink it, right? And I'm trying to drink it because I know the antioxidants or whatever reason they may be drinking tea. They're like, but it's hard for me to get into. It's like, well, there's a lot of ways you could fix that, and I could cover that in a lot of videos. Obviously, like, I'm just drinking it straight. I like tea that way, but I also like tea occasionally with a little bit of milk, maybe some sugar every now and then, or like a lavender syrup if I'm making like a London fog, or lemon, like honey and lemon. There's a lot of ways and different types of teas and tisanes where you can make your own concoction sort of and find what you like. So that's a fun thing about tea. If you haven't explored that, if you're just trying to get into tea and you're just drinking it straight, that might be hard for you, especially at first. But if you can get yourself into it by like, oh, well, I can start using a little sugar or a little milk or, you know, honey, like if you can do like one ingredient or a couple and start to get yourself into it, that's a fun thing about tea in general. And with Numi, high quality, good tasting tea that's not overly bitter, like that might help you get into tea as well. I'm not saying you can't get into tea with some other brand, but if you've tried a couple brands and you haven't tried Numi, you can try that out and see if having the fuller leaf, the better quality tea might help you. So I hope you've enjoyed this conversation about tea and Numi tea and why it's one of my personal favorites. I highly recommend you checking them out, or just tea in general. I'm just a big fan of tea. It makes me feel good, it makes me happy, it makes me calm, it makes me peaceful, it makes me feel warm. All the things I kind of talked about throughout the video. And if you don't know this already, I drink tea in almost all of my videos. So when you come back, you'll probably see me with a mug in hand, and I'll probably be talking about it then. And I'll probably make more videos about tea down the road. So hopefully you found value in this video. If you know any tea heads or people who want to get into tea, please share this with them. I'm sure they'd find some value in it. Also, the resources I mentioned in the video will probably be helpful to them. So thank you for your time. Please like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Cheers.